Hollywood in the 1970s didn't know its own rules. Directors tested limits no one thought they could, pushing stories of violence, scandal, and obsession further than ever before. Some films were buried, some stars destroyed, and some became legends against all odds. This was a decade of chaos where ambition collided with controversy and the line between art and outrage vanished. Today, we're diving into 11 of the most shocking, daring, and unforgettable films from that era. Movies that defined a generation, broke boundaries, and still leave audiences stunned decades later. Strap in, because what you're about to see isn't just cinema. It's the raw, untamed heart of 1970s Hollywood. 11. Caligula. Caligula is the ultimate example of 1970s Hollywood chaos, betrayal, and ambition gone too far. Marketed as a serious Roman epic, the film starred respected actors like Malcolm McDowell, Peter O'Toole, and Helen Mirren. After principal filming ended, the producers secretly added explicit sexual content with adult performers, reportedly without informing many of the original cast. When actors saw the finished product, several felt betrayed. Writer Gore Vidal demanded his name be removed, while McDowell considered the film expensive smut rather than historical drama. Helen Mirren, surprisingly, described it as an irresistible mix of art and genitals, and moved on with her career intact. The film captures everything that defined the era: reckless ambition, creative chaos, and the inability of anyone involved to agree on what they were making. Audiences expecting a traditional historical epic instead encountered a shocking, controversial work that blurred the line between art and exploitation. Caligula remains a legendary example of Hollywood's most chaotic decade, a film that embodies both excess and infamy. 10. Lipstick. When Lipstick screened for test audiences in 1976, people were literally screaming at the screen, not because it was horror, but because it felt unbearably real. The story follows a successful fashion model who takes her attacker to court after he assaults her in her apartment. During the trial, the defense uses her own modeling photographs to argue she invited it, turning the courtroom into something deeply uncomfortable. Against all expectations, the man walks free. But the story doesn't end there. When he later targets her younger sister, the failure of the legal system finally sparks real rage. This time, she picks up a rifle. And the controversy didn't stay on screen. The film's star, Margot Hemingway, a famous model with almost no acting experience, was brutally criticized. Her career never recovered. Even more unsettling, the second victim was played by her real-life sister, Mariel Hemingway, who later wrote about filming those scenes in a memoir many found harder to read than the movie itself. 9. Midnight Cowboy. Midnight Cowboy is the only X-rated film ever to win the Academy Award for Best Picture, and its path to controversy was as unusual as its story. Joe Buck, a naive Texan, arrives in New York hoping to make a fortune by charming wealthy women. Instead, he meets Ratso Rizzo, a sickly hustler barely surviving the city's harsh winter. Their unlikely friendship becomes the emotional core of the film, exploring loneliness, survival, and human connection in a world that offers no comfort. The film's most famous line, "I'm walking here," was accidental. During filming, a real taxi almost hit Dustin Hoffman, who slammed his hand on the hood and shouted in character. The director kept the take, capturing raw authenticity. The X rating was self-imposed. United Artists feared censorship cuts and used controversy as a marketing tool. Audiences weren't shielded from the bleak reality on screen. The film forced viewers to confront desperation and survival in a city indifferent to human suffering, leaving an emotional impact unmatched by most thrillers of its time. 8. The Wicker Man. When The Wicker Man was completed, its own studio hated it. Distributor British Lion Films cut the film down and quietly released it as the bottom half of a double feature, or effectively hiding it from audiences. The story follows a devoutly Christian police officer who travels to a remote Scottish island to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. What he finds shocks him. The residents have abandoned Christianity in favor of pagan rituals and ancient traditions. Slowly, he realizes the investigation itself may have been a trap. The tension doesn't rely on darkness or jump scares. Instead, the dread builds in bright daylight, with cheerful folk music playing in the background. The result is not adrenaline-fueled terror, but a creeping sense of helplessness, as the officer learns the rules he trusted do not apply here. Actor Christopher Lee took the role for no salary, desperate to escape typecasting as Dracula. Over time, the film became one of the most influential horror films ever, despite its troubled release. 7. 100 Rifles chaos surrounded the production of 100 Rifles long before filming began. The story follows an American lawman sent to arrest a half-Indian bank robber in 1912 Mexico, only for both men to get caught in a violent conflict between government forces and an indigenous tribe. They are joined by a revolutionary fighter played by Raquel Welch, who is treated as an equal partner in every battle, a surprising choice for the era. On screen, the film was groundbreaking, featuring one of the first major studio interracial love scenes. Off-screen, however, production was pure chaos. Actor Jim Brown said tensions began over Raquel Welch controlling her image, while Burt Reynolds later described heated confrontations, including physical disputes on set. Our 3 people involved in the shoot would later give completely different explanations of events, creating a legendary story of on-set chaos. Despite the turmoil, the film pushed boundaries in both content and representation, leaving a lasting mark on 1960s Hollywood and ensuring it would be remembered for controversy as much as action. 6. Myra Breenidge. Few films captured chaos like Myra Breenidge. Based on the novel by Gore Vidal, it tells the story of a man who undergoes gender reassignment surgery and returns to Hollywood to dismantle traditional masculinity. Director and cast intended the film as bold, provocative satire. Instead, production spiraled into complete confusion. Legendary actress Mae West came out of a 27-year retirement to appear and immediately insisted on being the star, refusing to share scenes with other actors. Actress Raquel Welch hoped the role would prove her acting talent, but the first 3 weeks of production were spent in tears inside her trailer. The 2 women never shared a frame, and the director once filmed an entire day capturing a table of food because he could not agree on the scene. Meanwhile, a subplot involving Shirley Temple threatened legal action over footage taken out of context. The result was a film so chaotic that critics said the stories from the set were far more entertaining than the movie itself, making Myra Breenidge one of the most infamous Hollywood disasters of the decade. 5. The Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter won the Academy Award for Best Picture, but its reception was far from peaceful. Veterans groups and critics publicly denounced it, calling the film a bloody lie, particularly over the Russian roulette sequences, which historians later found had no documented historical basis. The story follows 3 friends from a Pennsylvania steel town sent to Vietnam, expecting challenges they could survive. Instead, they are captured, forced to play Russian roulette for their captors' amusement, and return home forever changed. The opening wedding sequence is long, warm, and detailed, establishing a safe world for the audience. This makes the brutal experiences that follow hit even harder, as viewers are drawn into the lives of characters they deeply care about. Behind the scenes, tragedy struck. One lead actor was dying of cancer during production, another threatened to walk if replaced. And Meryl Streep filmed her Oscar-nominated role while watching her partner disappear in real time. The Deer Hunter forces audiences to confront the psychological toll of war, blending intimate human drama with controversial, unforgettable sequences. 4. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia is one of Sam Peckinpah's most unhinged films, blending grief, violence, and dark humor in a way that unsettled audiences. The story follows Benny, a down-and-out piano player in a grimy Mexican bar, who learns there is a $10,000 reward for the severed head of a dead man. Desperate, he digs up the body himself and begins carrying it across Mexico, talking to the decaying head as if it were alive. As Benny navigates a world of betrayal and chaos, everything he loves is destroyed before he can collect the reward. The film's raw tone mirrors Peckinpah's own turbulent state at the time, creating a deeply personal and disturbing experience. On set, actors endured extreme conditions. Warren Oates, who played Benny, wore prescription sunglasses for the entire production, stumbling through scenes in scorching heat, adding genuine disorientation to his performance. Audiences in 1974 were unprepared for this blend of violence, grief, and absurdity. Only decades later did critics and cinephiles recognize the film as a daring, deeply affecting work of art that defied conventional storytelling. 3. Mumsy, Nanny, Sunny, and Girly. Few films shocked audiences like Mumsy, Nanny, Sunny, and Girly. Many theaters advertised it as a strange but harmless comedy, and families even brought their children, only to discover it was far darker than expected. So the film takes place in a decaying English estate, where two adult siblings behave like toddlers. They lure strangers from local parks, keeping the compliant ones as pets, and executing the others in rituals governed by bizarre nursery rhyme logic. The story unfolds as a new captive begins to manipulate the family's jealousies to survive. Audiences were immediately unsettled by the contrast between childlike behavior and brutal murder, creating a unique and disturbing cinematic experience. American theater chains pulled the film after just 2 days, as complaints flooded in faster than the studio could respond. Actress Vanessa Howard, who played one of the siblings and was positioned as a rising star in British cinema, found the experience so damaging that she left the industry entirely, saw her later becoming a grief counselor and refusing to ever discuss the film again. Mumsy, Nanny, Sunny, and Girly remains a cautionary example of 1970s Hollywood pushing boundaries too far. 2. A Clockwork Orange. A Clockwork Orange, directed by Stanley Kubrick, is one of the most infamous and influential films of the 1970s. It follows Alex, a violent gang leader whose crimes eventually land him in an experimental government program designed to eliminate his capacity for violence. The film's disturbing imagery, ultra-violent behavior, and unsettling musical choices triggered intense controversy. Newspapers linked it to real-life copycat crimes, and Kubrick began receiving death threats. The media frenzy escalated to the point where the director requested the studio withdraw the film from UK theaters entirely, in keeping one of the most influential films of the era nearly unseen in its home country for decades. Despite the controversy, the movie is widely recognized for its visual style, bold storytelling, and exploration of free will, morality, and the consequences of a society attempting to control human behavior. Audiences are forced to confront uncomfortable questions about violence, authority, and personal responsibility, making A Clockwork Orange a landmark example of 1970s Hollywood pushing boundaries with no regard for comfort or safety. 1. Pretty Baby. Few films from the 1970s sparked as much debate as Pretty Baby. Set in a 1917 New Orleans brothel, it follows Violet, a 12-year-old girl growing up surrounded by adult vice. She witnesses her virginity being auctioned as a disturbing ritual and forms a complex, consuming bond with a photographer documenting the women around her. The role was played by 11-year-old Brooke Shields, who later described the production as surreal. She reportedly did not fully grasp the controversy her scenes were generating, highlighting the unsettling reality behind the film's creation. The movie was banned in parts of Canada and Australia, and critics remain divided on whether it is a profound artistic statement or deeply troubling. Its matter-of-fact tone presents exploitation as routine, forcing audiences to confront uncomfortable questions rather than offering sensationalized shock. Even decades later, Pretty Baby remains largely unavailable on major streaming platforms, a reminder that controversy, more than quality, often dictates a film's survival. The story challenges viewers to face innocence lost, a moral ambiguity, and the uneasy line between art and exploitation. Hollywood in the 1970s broke every rule, made every mistake, and created films that still shock us today. From ambition to chaos, genius to scandal, this was a decade where anything could happen, and often did. If you loved this dive into cinematic history, hit that subscribe button and join us for more legendary stories, lost classics, and the wildest moments Hollywood ever dared to make. Stay tuned, because the world of film is bigger, stranger, and far more fascinating than you think.